Greetings. Today I want us to talk about tomatoes. See how from the entire process, from how to plant, prune, stake, and water and fertilize your tomato plant to have a healthy crop. I'm also going to look at some of the common pests and diseases that may attack or you may come around when you're planting your tomatoes. I will be covering the entire process from planting to harvest. So let's start from the first step, that is planting. So to plant your tomatoes, you can start the tomatoes from seed. You purchase your seeds and establish a nursery for yourself. You can either do that in a nursery trays, on a seedling trays, and then you establish your seeds indoors or on a nursery bed on a well-controlled environment. Or you can choose the option of buying your seedlings from seed propagators. We have several seed propagators that do the seedlings for you, and you're able to purchase healthy seedlings that you can plant onto your farm. So when planting the tomato seedling, it's important to ensure the area that you choose to plant your crop is receiving enough sunlight. That about 6 to 8 hours of sunlight. The tomato crop really likes the warmth. So to have a good crop, the tomato crop should be exposed to enough sunlight. That is about 6 to 8 hours. Ensure that the soil in the area that you're going to plant your crop is well drenching and has enough organic matter. That will help with the growth. While planting the crop, ensure that you plant it as deep as possible, because you notice if you look at the tomato seedling, you can notice there are some hairs on the stem. So what those hairs are is, if those hairs come into contact with the soil, you're definitely going to get some roots. And the more the roots, the more food that the plant will be able to get, and that the healthier the crop you'll have. Also, check on the spacing. So for a good crop, you can do about 2 to 3 feet, depending on the type of crop, the type of tomato you're planting. So that you can ensure you have enough space for aeration, so the crops are not so crowded, so they can have enough light and enough air going through. And that depends, you see, if you're going to be pruning your tomatoes, and also on the type of tomatoes that you've planted. So what do I mean by the type of tomatoes that you're planting? So we have the determinate variety tomato, or the indeterminate. So those two varieties have different characteristics, and that will determine how you take care of your crop during the planting and the pruning process as well. So what's the difference between the determinate and the indeterminate variety? So the main difference is the growth process and the fruiting pattern. So what do I mean by that? For the determinate variety, the tomatoes have a predetermined growth pattern. So as the name suggests, a determined variety, it has a predetermined growth pattern, and it reaches a specific height, about 3 to 4 feet, and doesn't grow past that. Also, the fruit set, it sets its fruit all at probably at the same time. So you have so many fruits at the same time, and then so the harvest period is shorter. The other key characteristic is that now with that, you need less maintenance, because less pruning, because now you want as much production as possible as compared to the indeterminate variety. So now, what is the indeterminate variety? The indeterminate variety, as the name suggests as well, it grows. For example, the heirloom tomatoes, the growth is indeterminate. It can grow as long as, at times, even 6 to 10 feet long. The crop still keeps growing, grows both laterally and vertically. So you can have so many stems, and if the crop is not pruned, it can go wild. It can grow as much. Because as you said, you see those root hairs. So as the crop grows, if the stem have any contact with the ground, will form roots, and the crop will continue growing. It will continue vining for as long as possible, and the crop comes to an end, maybe probably due to weather, especially in areas where probably we have the winter or probably disease. But that crop can continue producing, and it produces lesser fruits, but in fruits constantly for a very long period of time. So therefore, with that, because of that, now the indeterminate variety, the indeterminate tomato it requires more maintenance in terms of pruning. Ensure you have probably you remain with the main stock, and then ensure the crop, so that you can be able to control the growth of your crop. So for this particular crop, this is a determinate variety. This is what I have here, is a determinate. So that's why you can notice that it doesn't grow tall, and you have so many fruits at the same time. So you're going to be harvesting these fruits for a very short period, and the crop will be done. After planting now, once the crop is growing, we need to do the pruning. So what is pruning? What is the benefit of pruning? So pruning will encourage, once you prune your crop, it will encourage better fruit production. And also, as we said, it will improve air circulation, and once you reduce the vegetation, the plant now focuses its energy towards the tomatoes themselves, the fruits. With pruning, once you reduce the foliage, so now the crop concentrates on the fruits, on the fruit. So you'll have a better fruit set and good quality fruits. But also, especially now, ensure that there's enough air so that you keep your foliage dry to prevent hosting of diseases. So the other next and crucial stage process is staking. Staking mainly is ensuring that your crop is supported. So most tomato varieties, I think almost all tomato varieties, require some form of support to prevent what the support now prevents them from, sprawling out of control and breaking. And there are times when once the fruits are set, you prevent the crop from breaking under its own weight, because now the fruits are quite heavy. The fruits are quite heavy. So if the crop is not supported, probably it's going to break on its own weight, and you're going to have losses. So it's always important to stake your crop, and also to ensure that the crop has no contact with the ground, because now once it comes into contact with the soil, that's where harboring, you'll get issues with the diseases. So it's always good to ensure your crop is well supported. So there are various ways of supporting depending on whatever is available in your area. You can use cages, you can use sticks. So for me, I have used the sticks branches that I got after trimming off some of the trees that were here. That's what I've used here to stake. By staking is where you put a supporting, and then you can tie up as your crop continues to grow. You can tie it up gently using the main stem, and you can tie them up gently using a soft twine, or you can use a garden tape. So as the crop continues growing, you can tie it up gently, supporting it to whatever support system that you've put, and you get the crop how you want it to grow, to ensure that the crop is off the ground and it's well supported, so it can be able to hold the fruits as they continue growing. So the other crucial step in ensuring that you have a healthy crop is watering. So the tomato crop requires that the soil is always moist, but not too much, not over watering. The soil should not be waterlogged. So when doing the watering, can you consider watering it from the ground? So for example, here in my case, I'm using a drip irrigation system, which I would highly recommend, so that you can avoid wetting the foliage. So you wet from below, and if it's too dry, you can consider mulching, so that you keep the soil moist. However, at times we have, for example, the rainy season, like now at this period, that this crop is here, it's during the cold and rainy season. There's nothing much you can do about, wetting the leaves. So what you do, that's where now the pruning was coming in, that I can ensure I clear all the unwanted foliage, so that the crop can have enough, aeration, and so to avoid then a breeding space for diseases. But if it's during the dry period and you're doing the watering, try as much as possible to water from the ground, and where possible you can consider mulching. So during the dry period, especially during the dry period, if you let the soil go dry too much, if it's too dry, then it gets a sudden burst of water. Then suddenly too much watering, what will happen is the fruit you know, that during the dry period was dehydrated, and once now it gets a huge burst of water, it's not able to hold, that water, and you'll notice that the fruit cracks. That's why you'll notice that in your crop. That's why it's always good to ensure that the soil is always moist. Don't let it dry off, so that it doesn't affect the quality of your fruits, of your tomatoes. So because if it gets that huge, from dry to too much water, the fruits are going to crack. So the next step is fertilization. The tomato crop requires a well-balanced nutrition. So especially in the initial stage, when the vegetative growth is during the vegetative stage, you need the initial first you need enough organic matter onto your soil. So that will help during the initial stage, especially during the initial stage of the crop is establishing, where the crop requires enough nitrogen for the vegetative stage, and also phosphorus for the rooting. So it's always good to have a well-balanced nutrition fertilizer. So the initial stage is the crop requires a high concentration of nitrogen and phosphorus. So then after the flowering period, that's when now the flowering period and the fruiting stage, you require a high concentration of potassium now for the fruit setting to prevent flower abortion and ensure all the flowers don't abort, and they all form fruits. During fertilization, be careful you don't over fertilize, because if you do, there's over fertilization, especially in the initial stage, during the for example, the nitrogen fertilizer. So the crop will have too much vegetative growth at the expense of your fruits. So you'll have a huge crop with so much vegetative growth, but it doesn't. The flowers are aborting, or the fruits are not forming. So the idea is to consider a balanced nutrition. Next is we're going to look at pests and diseases. For the pests, the crop is tomatoes are attacked by the common pests that we have, the whiteflies, aphids, and this can easily be controlled. Even if it's for organic control at home use, you can even use a simple detergent, disinfect detergent, spray on your leaves, and it will be able to get rid of some of these some of these pests like the aphids and whiteflies. Yeah, and you can use whatever method that you want to control, either organic or inorganic, to keep the pest at bay. But the main problem that so many farmers face is tomato diseases, especially during the cold and rainy season. There are so many diseases that attack the crop, and so that's where so many farmers lose their crop and they are not able to get the yields that are expected. So what are some of the diseases that you may encounter? One of the diseases that you may encounter is blossom end rot. So blossom end rot is as a result of calcium deficiency, but not necessarily the deficiency of calcium from the soil. It may be it's mainly as a result of irregular watering, such that the crop is not able to uptake the nutrients. So that's where, remember, we had looked at watering. It's always important to ensure that your crop, the soil is always moist, the crop is well watered, so that it can be able to take whatever nutrients. The crop can easily be able to uptake whatever nutrients that are in the soil. So blossom end rot is basically mainly can be controlled by ensuring that you regularly water your crop. Then there is the other disease is the blight. There is also blight. This should not be confused with on the fruits. You should not be confused with the blossom end rot, because the blossom end rot, you see the crop the fruit is affected from the bottom at the end, but with the blight is from the top, and also the foliage. You notice some some discoloration on the foliage as well. So that's blight. Blight is mainly caused by too much moisture on the foliage. That's why we are talking of ensuring that you keep the leaves as dry as possible if you can, and if not, ensure there is enough aeration so that air can go through the leaves. And with that, because now with too much moisture on the leaves, that's where now it's a breeding ground for the diseases like the blight. So, and it's also good to note that with the blight and blossom end rot, once it attacks your crop, there's it's difficult to reverse that. So it's always good to be on the lookout, do your scouting well, and ensure that this does not, you prevent this instead of, because now trying to cure this will be, it's quite a tall order. You ensure that you regularly practice crop rotation, so to ensure that you minimize the occurrence of the diseases often. So with that, you'll be able to protect your crop. So for a successful tomato harvest, regularly monitor your crop because early detection and intervention will save your crop, and will that eventually have a healthy crop. So with that, you'll definitely be assured of a good harvest. So thank you for watching. Till the next one, happy farming.